attached to a silver base, a heavy little anchor in a morning space. We bought it with a rigid and a factory shine, a geometric tool on a perfect line. It pushed the bitter powder in the metal cup, a daily operation, waking logic up. But pressing on the friction takes a gentle toll, a physical recording of a working soul. The bottom steel gathers up a million lines, a tiny map of scratches in the deep designs. It loses all the roughness of the early day, becoming just a custom mold to guide the way. It fits the human palm without a single slip, a dedicated pressure in a steady grip. The instrument surrenders to the daily grind, a flawless equilibrium we leave behind. The worn tamper pressing on the bitter ground, a loyal little engine where the truth is found. We push the rigid boundaries to extract the sweet, and engineer the comfort on a busy street. You cannot brew a potion with a fragile touch. I hold the heavy timber that I need so much. Pressing on the bitter ground, a loyal little engine where the truth is found. We push the rigid boundaries to extract the sweet, and engineer the comfort on a busy street. You cannot brew a potion with a fragile touch. I hold the heavy timber that I need so much. Used to apply the pressure in a rushing state, a hurried interaction with a bitter fate. But brewing teaches patience on the pushing hand, a steady navigation in a waking land. The scratches on the metal are a badge of time, a physical devotion in your heart and mind. The timber feels like velvet on a weary bone, a guarantee that I am never left alone. Push the silver down, compact the bitter dust, extract the liquid gold, build the solid trust. The friction is a teacher we can comprehend, a gentle operation of a loyal friend. I realize that asking for a spotless gear is leaving all the flavor in a distant ear. Love requires a pressing of the inner core to pull the deepest meaning through the open door. We let the handle polish in the passing days and validated all the magic in the haze. I've tapped the metal filter on the wooden block, accepting the devotion running on the clock. The worn tamper pressing on the bitter ground, press it down, a loyal little engine where the truth is found. We push the rigid boundaries to extract the sweet, and engineer the comfort on a busy street. You cannot brew a potion with a fragile touch. I hold the heavy timber that I need so much. The wood is smooth, the brew is dark, we are warm.
We clamped it on the second fret to change the key. The rubber pad was level and completely flat, but pressing on the wires takes a gentle toll, a physical recording of the singing soul. The copper strings bite into the rubber face, leaving an impression in a steady space. The flat design surrenders to a set of lines, a microscopic valley in the dark designs. It loses the aesthetic of a brand new part, becoming an extension of a beating heart. The grooves align exactly where the metal lays, a perfect adaptation for the passing days. The grooved capo clamping on the copper string, a loyal little partner making music ring. We wore the rigid borders to a custom fit, and engineered a harmony that will not quit. You cannot play the rhythm with the buzzing tone. I trust the fitted rubber acting producing awful noise. The pressure to define the shape, providing the vibration a secure escape. The lines upon the rubber match the giving chord. I snap the iron trigger on the wooden fret and play the sweet melody I never will forget. Squeeze the silver spring, lock the rubber down, strike the open chord, hear the ringing sound. The damage is a method to prevent the buzz, a reliable mechanic doing what it does. I realize that asking for an untouched pad is letting the vibration turn to something sad. Love requires the yielding of the inner wall to hold the passing pressure and accept the call. We let the copper dig into the dark material and validated everything that is imperial. I strum the final chorus on the open stage, accepting the perfection of a turning page. The grooved capo clamping on the copper string, lock it down. A loyal little partner making music ring, play it loud. We wore the rigid borders to a custom fit and engineered a harmony that will not quit. You cannot play the rhythm with a buzzing tone. I trust the fitted rubber acting on its own. The groove is deep, the chord is clear. We are fine.
A wooden box sliding on a metal rail. We designated storage for pass and tail. We used to pull the handle with a gentle slide. The mechanism functioned in a steady line, but geometric motion of a clear design. But changing of the weather brings a heavy damp, a silent infiltration of a freezing camp. The timber drinks the moisture from the summer air. The panel twists a fraction from the proper track and locks the wooden carriage from returning back. I pull the metal handle, but the iron binds. A physical blockade dividing up the minds. It sits halfway open in a freezing stare. A miserable puzzle I cannot repair. The wood absorbs the toxic and the logic bends. A devastating error where the journey ends. The jam drawer sticking in the middle zone. A tragic limitation I am left to own. I try to push the timber but the angle locks. A miserable failure of a wooden box. You cannot find a closure when the track is bent. I stare at the disaster where the time is spent. The jam drawer sticking in the middle zone. A tragic limitation I am left to own. I try to push the timber but the angle locks. A miserable failure of a wooden box. You cannot find a closure when the track is bent. I stare at the disaster where the time is spent. We acted like the tension was a passing breeze, refusing to acknowledge the emotional freeze. But holding unsaid anger makes the timber swell and turns a simple structure to an act of hell. The gap exposes half of all the hidden things, a terrible reminder of the broken rings. We cannot move it forward to a proper end, or push it in the cabinet to play pretend. Push the heavy wood, hear the timber creak. Fail to close the gap, lose the peak we seek. The moisture is a consequence of words unsaid, a barrier erected in a house of dread. I realize a forcing an expanded board is paying for a promise we cannot afford. Love requires a clearance and a breathing room to let the cabbage travel and prevent the doom. We let the silent anger warp the wooden base and locked ourselves inside an undecided space. Drop my weary hand and step away from it, accepting the reality I must admit. Jam drawer sticking in the middle zone, push it hard, give it up. I try to push the timber but the angle locks. A miserable failure of a wooden box. You cannot find a closure when the track is bent. I leave the broken timber where the time is spent. The track is dead. The box is stuck, I am done.
A glass of time sitting on the wooden shelf, a visual reminder of the moving self. We flip the curved cylinder to start the day, to watch the golden particles just slip away. A narrow neck allowed a microscopic flow, a calculated rhythm that the lovers know. But putting it beside the open window frame invites a hidden weather to a fragile game. The morning fog seeps into the tiny crack, a chemical invasion holding nothing back. The moisture finds the center of the golden dust and ruins all the physics of a solid truss. The particles attach into a heavy block, defeating all the motion of the falling clock. The sand refuses passage through the narrow choke, a physical disaster from the words we spoke. The moisture binds the logic and the gravity fails, a tragic limitation on the sinking sails. The clumped sand frozen in the narrow glass, a miserable ending to the days that pass. I tap the fragile chamber but the blockage holds. You cannot count the minutes when the flow is dead. I stare at the illusion of the tears we shed. The clumped sand frozen in the narrow glass, a miserable ending to the days that pass. I tap the fragile chamber but the blockage holds. You cannot count the minutes when the flow is dead. I stare at the illusion of the tears we shed. Acted like the future was a running stream, a guaranteed progression in a waking dream. But swallowing the sorrow makes the feelings bind, a heavy complication we have left behind. The upper half is holding all the golden weight, a paralyzed reflection of a bitter fate. The bottom half is empty in a vacant stare, a total deprivation of the things we share. Tap the frozen glass, watch the center stick, fail to move the time, lose the magic trick. The water is a poison to the flowing sand, a paralyzed emotion in an empty hand. I realize that forcing in a moving grain is multiplying all the devastating pain. Love requires a dryness in the central core to navigate the passage and demand for more. We let the silent anger turn the dust to stone and validated all the reasons we are alone. I leave the broken timer on the dusty sill, accepting that the passing of the time is still. The clumped sand frozen in the narrow glass, miserable ending to the days that pass. Tap the fragile chamber but the blockage holds. You cannot count the minutes when the flow is dead. I leave the frozen timer and the tears we shed. The sand is stuck, the time is gone, I am still.
curved timber resting on the wooden floor. We bought the chair with a heavy coat of shine. It rocked a little stiffly on the given ground. The halting rhythm in the pushing sound. But swaying back and forth takes a gentle toll, a physical recording of a steady soul. The floorboards rub against the curving wooden base, erasing all the varnish in a narrow space. The bottom wears into a custom flattened slide. It catches on the rhythm of the weary bone, the comforting mechanic we have always known. The wood adjusts to every heavy sigh I take, forgiving every burden and a past mistake. The timber trades the polish for the resting feet. The worn rocker swaying in the fading light, a wooden pendulum that sets the timing right. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing pace. You cannot find a rhythm with the rigid shell. I lean into the motion that I know so well. The worn rocker swaying in the fading light, a wooden pendulum that sets the timing right. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing pace. You cannot find a rhythm with the rigid shell. I lean into the motion that I know so well. Used to force the issue in a rapid swing, a dizzying momentum of a fragile thing. But time allows the timber to dictate the speed, a natural adjustment for the daily need. The naked wood is darker than the upper frame, a visual devotion in a loyal game. I push the ground and let the gravity return, accepting all the patience I had yet to learn. Push the timber back, feel the gentle slide, let the motion roll, keep the truth inside. The friction is a teacher we can comprehend, a permanent dynamic of a working friend. I realize that hoping for a spotless chair is missing all the magic in the evening air. Love requires a rubbing of the outer curve to regulate the balance and calm the nerve. We let the floorboard shade the shiny coat away and found a solid rhythm at the close of day. I close my heavy eyes and let the timber sway, accepting the devotion that will always stay. The worn rocker swaying in the fading light, rock it back, wooden pendulum that sets the timing right. Keep the time, around the bitter edges to a soothing pace. You cannot find a rhythm with the rigid shell. I lean into the motion that I know so well. Wood is bare, the swing is true, we are safe.
Sitting by the welcome mat, a rigid piece of nature where the footsteps sat. We bought the sandals straight out of the corner shop. A stiff and stubborn yield to the pushing arch. But walking down the miles takes a summer march. But walking down the miles takes a summer march. But walking down the miles takes a summer march. But walking down the miles. But walking down the miles takes a subtle feat, the physical progression meant for you and me. The heat begins to soften up the wooden core. The rigid limitation is a wall no more. The pressure of the heel carves a perfect groove, a dedicated map of everywhere I move. The toes create a valley in the upper crest, a custom indentation making up a nest. It loses all the structure of the factory line, becoming an extension of your life and mine. The cork absorbs the gravity, a beautiful surrender making escape. The molded cork carrying the daily weight, a loyal little partner at the starting gate. We wore the rigid angles to custom bend and turn the basic sandal to a working friend. You cannot walk a distance with a fighting bass. I wear the molded timber in a steady pace. The molded cork, carrying the daily weight. A loyal little partner at the starting gate. We wore the rigid angles to a custom bend and turn the basic sandal to a working friend. You cannot walk a distance with a fighting bass. I wear the molded timber in a steady pace. For blisters from a stubborn pride, refusing to adjust the heavy outer hide. But friction forces compromises in the end. A necessary yielding we can comprehend. The darkening material is proof of trust. A solid navigation through the summer dust. I slide while we feet into the familiar track and feel the steady comfort always pushing back. Step up on the cork, feel the custom fit. Walk the winding road, never ever quit. The damage is a symptom of a shared mile. A reliable connection in a changing style. I realize that searching for a brand new pair is missing the connection in the open air. Love requires a pressing of the inner foam to build a solid transit for the journey home. We let the timber yield to the heavy skin and validated all the magic we are in. I buckle up the leather on the working street, accepting the perfection of a true retreat. The molded cork, carrying the weight, stepping down, a loyal little partner at the start. Walk the line, from the rigid angles to a custom bend, and turn a basic sandal to a working friend. You cannot walk a distance with the fighting bass. I wear the molded timber in a steady pace. The soul is deep, the fit is right. We are walking.
I'm meddling, I'm meddling, hey. A metal link looping on a silver gear. We designated engine for a moving year. We oiled the heavy iron on the turning track. The pedal pushed the tension of the way we feel, but leaving it uncovered in a sudden rain introduces poison to the working vein. The water settles deep inside the metal joint, a quiet devastation at the breaking point. The iron oxidizes in a toxic red, a chemical reaction to the words we said. The links become a rigid and a frozen stick. I push my heavy weight upon the driving bar, expecting an advancement to a given star. The rusted chain slipping from the iron ring, a tragic limitation on a moving thing. I try to push the pedal but the circles fly, a disconnected motion on a working lie. You cannot drive a journey when the link is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. The rusted chain slipping from the iron ring, a tragic limitation on a moving thing. I try to push the pedal but the circles fly, a disconnected motion on a working lie. You cannot drive a journey when the link is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. Was an endless grace, ignoring all the weather in an open space. But rust is an infection tearing up the seam, a devastating block upon a moving dream. The iron drops and clatters on the losing game. The wheel remains unmoving on the concrete floor, a physical reminder we can drive no more. Push the useless bar, watch the pedal spin, fail to catch a grip, let the anger in. The mechanism freezes in a rigid bind, a devastated engine we have left behind. I realize that forcing an infected line is ruining the logic of a deep design. Love requires a maintenance of the inner lock to keep the metal running past the passing clock. We let the water ruin up the central core and push the weary pedal till it worked no more. I kick the rusted iron with the heavy shoe, accepting the division separating me and you. The rusted chain slipping from the iron, watching fall, a tragic limitation on a move. I try to push the pedal but the circles fly, a disconnect motion on a working line. You cannot drive a journey when the link is dead. I'll leave the rusted metal and the tears we shed. The chain, the step, the wheel is still, I am done. The chain, the step. A metal.
A rubber blade sitting on the front glass, a simple mechanism for the storms that pass. We used to flip the switch and let the engine sweep, a flawless keep. The parking in the summer takes a silent fee, a devastating solar burn for you and me. The ultraviolet bakes the rubber turning dry, a cruel and slow destruction from a clearing sky. The blade begins to separate and take a crack, a loss of elasticity we cannot track. The storm returns and covers up the window tight. I pull the little lever to restore the light, but sweeping on the surface leaves a messy smear, a total blur of vision and horizon fear. The damaged rubber fails to push the water down, a dirty streak of sorrow covering the town. The cracked wiper dragging on the heavy rain. I try to clear the window, but the vision blurs, a miserable error that the night incurs. You cannot see the future through a dirty screen. I stare at the distortion of a broken scene. The dragging on the heavy rain. I try the window, but the vision blurs, a miserable error that the night incurs. You cannot see the future through a dirty screen. I stare at the distortion of a broken scene. We acted like the damage was a minor flaw, a simple little error that we never saw. But trying to console a broken, weary mind will only spread the damage we have left behind. The motor pushes back and forth in steady time, but executing nothing but a dirty crime. The headlights from the traffic turn to bleeding rings, a devastating tangle of the broken things. Slip the plastic switch, watch the rubber slide, smear the fallen tear, nowhere left to hide. The rescue operation is a toxic snare, a messy execution in the open air. I realize that forcing a depleted tool is making up the actions of a sinking fool. Love requires a surface that is soft and clean, to push away the sorrow and restore the scene. We let the soul of anger dry the vital seal, and ruined any capability to heal. I turned the broken motor off and parked the car, accepting all the darkness of a falling star. The cracked wiper dragging on the heavy rain. Watch it smear, try to clear the window, but the vision blurs, a miserable error that the night incurs. You cannot see the future through a dirty screen. I leave the dark distortion of a broken scene. The screen is blurred, the rain is cold, I am blind.
A metal mesh. A metal mesh sitting in the washing bin, a quiet little helper where the chores begin. We bought it looking perfect in a rounded bowl, a geometric promise of a working soul. It took the heavy pasta from the boiling heat, a simple operation on a busy street, but resting in the sinking bites a heavy knock, a violent interaction with a falling block. The iron pots are crashing on the fragile wire, a daily repetition of a working fire. The metal bends and crumples on the outer rim, a physical perfection that is calm and clean. The outer shell is battered by the passing days, but filters out the sorrow in 1,000 ways. The Dented Strainer, waiting on the silver sink, a reliable mechanic, helping me to think. We took the heavy damages of shift and fade, but kept to demand a surface without any flaw. The most pathetic vanity the world ever saw. But holding back the debris takes a dented face, a physical devotion, a narrow space. The water rushes out and leaves a good behind, a testament of comfort in a working mind. I run my open fingers on the crooked steel, accepting the reality of how I feel. Pour the boiling tide, watch the water run, leave the bad outside, keep the rising sun. The damage is a symptom of a heavy test, a beautiful survivor doing all its best. I realize that hoping for a spotless curve is turning down the devotion that the lovers serve. Love requires a netting to remove the dark, to capture all the beauty and ignite the spark. We let the heavy iron bend the outer ring, invalidated every single working thing. I tapped the metal filter on the drying rack, accepting all the magic of the looking back. The Dented Strainer, written on the silver sea, a reliable mechanic, keep it pure. We took the heavy damages of shifting fate, but captured all the magic on a given plate. You cannot judge a vessel by a broken line. I trust the silver filter that is yours and mine. The mesh is bent, the core is clean, we are safe.
A wooden stick attached to a heavy brush. It started with a long inflexible array. We pushed it on the marble to remove the dust, a daily operation of a growing trust. But rubbing on the concrete takes a massive feat, a slow erasing process meant for you and me. The plastic fiber shortening on the dragging floor, a physical reduction asking for a little more. The length is cut in half and takes a stiffer stand, the rugged little soldier in a working hand. The new design is rigid and it holds the ground, discovering the shadows that are hiding around. It reaches in the corners of the narrow crack and pulls the buried history of sorrow back. The fiber loses volume to become so strong, a dedicated sweeping where we both belong. We ground the flexible illusion to a sturdy base. You cannot reach the bottom with the fragile sweep. I trust the shortened plastic for the piece I keep. The Worn Bristle, 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 wood and tile, a loyal little partner on an endless smile. We ground the flexible illusion to a sturdy base, and engineer to rescue in a narrow space. You cannot reach the bottom with a fragile sweep. I trust the short and plastic for the piece I keep. We used to brush the surface with a gentle touch, ignoring all the details that require so much. But shortening the distance brings a heavy force, a beautiful navigation on a working course. The dirt inside the corner cannot hide away, the rigid yellow fiber brings it to the day. I push the wooden handle in the fading light and clear away the damage of a passing night. Push the plastic down, hear the brushing sound, clear the hidden dark, keep the solid ground. The damage is a teacher making matters clear, a flawless operation in a given year. I realize that keeping up a fragile length is missing all the value of an inner strength. Love requires a wearing of the outer sweep to dig into the valleys that are dark and deep. We let the concrete shave, the yellow fiber short, and validated every battle we have fought. I tapped the wooden handle on the closet door, accepting all the magic of a spotless floor. Sweep it clean, a loyal sweep. I trust the shortened plastic for the piece I keep. The floor is clear. The brush is worn. We are fine.
A metal spine waiting in the sewing kit. We pulled a heavy thread inside the upper eye. A visual promise underneath the sky. It pointed at the fabric with the sharp design to navigate the joining on a steady line. But pushing on a leather takes a brutal toll. A devastating error on a metal saw. The cowhide was a stubborn and an ancient wall. A terrifying barrier to take the fall. We pushed the silver iron with the selfish might, refusing to maneuver in the fading light. The pressure overwhelmed the slender metal core. A physical conclusion we cannot ignore. The needle took a severe and a sudden bend. A twist a little tragic and a bitter end. It cannot pull the cotton through a narrow space. A miserable failure in a frozen place. The iron loses logic and the angle drops. The twisted needle failing on the leather hide. I try to push the metal, but the direction fails. You cannot sew a future with a ruined pin. I stare at the disaster of the state I am in. The twisted needle failing on the leather hide. I try to push the metal, but the direction fails. Cannot sew a future with a ruined pin. I stare at the disaster of the state I am in. We acted like the tension was a given, right? Believing we could puncture any heavy night. But pushing past the limit breaks the holding thread and ruins all the meaning of the words we said. The metal is a hook we gotta rock or catch. A permanent survivor of a losing match. I try to bend it back into a level state, but iron snaps and shatters on a closing gate. Push the silver point, feel the iron yield. Watch the fabric win, lose the open field. The force destroy the only bridge we ever made. A microscopic ending to a long charade. I realize that forcing an excessive tear is dropping all the garments in the empty air. Love requires an angle that is straight and clear to navigate the sewing in a given year. We bent the vital instrument to find a spark and lock the conversation in the pitch black dark. I dropped the ruined iron in the plastic tray, accepting that the fabric is pulled away. The twisted needle failing on the leather hide. Watch it snap. A tragic separation on a dark divide. On the ground, I try to push the metal, but the direction fails. A miserable tearing of the sinking sails. You cannot sew a future with a ruined pin. I leave the twisted metal in the state I am in. The pin is pinning, pin is pinning. The pin is bent. The tear remains. I am done. Yeah, yeah. Hey. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A yellow square attached upon the metal door. A visual protector asking nothing more.
It held a bold message in a printed black. We pressed it to the iron with a heavy hand, but physical devotion in a working land. But facing up the weather takes a brutal tax, a drying operation on the sticky wax. The corners of the yellow start to curl and lift, a miserable symptom of a downward drift. The open gap invites the blowing winter dust, a dark accumulation of a failing trust. The chemical adhesive turns a rigid gray, erasing all the bonding of a better day. It hangs upon the iron by a single thread, a ghostly illustration of the words we said. The peeling sticker waving in the bitter breeze, a devastating ending that the weather sees. I try to push the paper, but the edges bend. You cannot mask a danger when the sign is dead. I stare at the pollution of the tears we shed. Peeling sticker waving in the bitter breeze, devastating ending that the weather sees. I try to push the paper, but the edges bend. You cannot mask a danger when the sign is dead. I stare at the pollution of the tears we shed. We acted like the warning was an endless grace, ignoring all the logic in an empty space. But dust removes the holding of the working base and drops the conversation in a losing race. I wipe the dirty corner with a passing thumb, but nothing changes logic of the things to come. The message is illegible and fully blurred, a silent cancellation of the things we heard. Push the paper down, watch the corner curl, see the dirty line, watch the feeling whirl. The boundary is ruined by a simple hair, a devastating ending to a passing care. I realize that relying on a dying glue is erasing all the promises of me and you. Love requires an anchor that is fresh and bold to handle all the heavy weight the lovers hold. We let the weather ruin up the yellow sign and validated every broken boundary line. I ripped the fragile paper from the iron face, accepting the division in the open space. Peeling sticker waving in the bitter breeze, tear it up, a devastating ending that the weather sees. Let it fall, try to push the paper, but the edges bend. I cannot mask a danger when the sign is dead. I leave the dirty item and the tears we shed. The sign is gone, the glue is dead. I am done.
A silver dial resting on an audio face, a working gear tuning up a living space. We turn a plastic circle with the rigid click and mechanical position to eventually win. The rigid steps vanish and the turning gears, a fluid navigation through the sonic fields. It spins without a stutter in a velvet slide, erasing all the barriers we used to hide. The motion brings a level we could never reach, a perfect harmony upon a quiet beach. The plastic loses limits to a steady hand. If flawless navigation we can understand. The worn dial turning in the fading light, the smooth and steady engine getting audio right. We ground the bit of friction to a gentle spin and engineer the shelter where the songs begin. You cannot find a balance with the halting gear. I turn the fade to silver and the sound is clear. The worn dial turning in the fading light, the smooth and steady steady engine getting audio right. We ground a bit of friction to a gentle spin and engineer the shelter where the songs begin. You cannot find a balance with the halting gear. I turn the faded silver and the sound is clear. We used to force the issue in a rigid way, a halting conversation at the start of day. But rubbing down the ego makes the turning free, a seamless calibration meant for you and me. The dial offers comfort on a single trace, a millimeter difference in a working space. I roll the silver cylinder without a pain, and feel the perfect rhythm in the falling rain. Turn the silver wheel, feel the friction fade, catch a perfect tone, keep the promise made. The damage is a teacher, making matters fine. A beautiful alignment of your heart and mind. I realize that hoping for a rigid click is throwing out the magic of a steady trick. Love requires a rubbing of the inner track to navigate the turning and the coming back. We polished off the plastic to a gentle slide and validated everything we hold inside. I turn the glow and volume to a final rest, accepting the devotion of a sweet request. The worn dial turning in the fading light, the smooth steady engine getting audio right. Feel the beat, a bit of friction to a gentle spin, engineer the shelter where the songs begin. You cannot find the balance with a halting gear. Hold the faded silver and the sound is clear. Oh, spin it smooth. The sound is warm. We are fine.
Yeah. A velvet ring resting on the bathroom tile, a daily companion for a working mile. We bought it with a tension that was fierce and tight, a rigid circle fighting in the morning light. It pulled the heavy hair into a stubborn bind, a punishing dynamic of a focused mind. But tying up the volume takes a vital wear, a slow stretching process in the open air. The inner rubber snaps and loses all the fight, releasing all the pressure of the blinding tight. The velvet folds relax into a gentle drape, a comfortable exit from a strict escape. It holds the messy volume in a loose embrace, a flawless application in a tender space. The headache fades away and leaves awake and calm, a beautiful delivery of a healing balm. The elastic gives its boundary to the pushing weight, a gentle revolution altering the fate. The stretched scrunchie holding up the messy strand, a loyal piece of fabric in a weary hand. We lost the biting tension of the early start to engineer a comfort for the waking heart. You cannot tie a future with a painful grip. I wrap the faded velvet on a steady trip, the stretched scrunchie holding up the messy strand, a loyal piece of fabric in a weary hand. So we lost the biting tension of the early start to engineer a comfort for the waking heart. You cannot tie a future with a painful grip. I trust the faded velvet on a steady trip, The brand new bands are resting in a plastic case, a rigid limitation for a passing face. But they demand a suffering I will not take, a miserable repping of a past mistake. The one on velvet fits without a pulling pain, a physical protection from the falling rain. A twist around the center in a double loop, a designated anchor for the tangled group. Pull the velvet wide, feel the tension fade, find the falling hair, rest in the shade. The damage is a blessing in a woven form, a reliable protection from a passing storm. I realize that holding to a rigid tie is watching all the comfort of the morning die. Love requires a stretching of the inner band to navigate the holding with a tender hand. We pull the rubber limit to a graceful yield, and engineered a shelter in an open field. I wrap the faded circle in the fading light, accepting the perfection of a peaceful night. The stretched scrunchie holding up the messy strand, tied up, a loyal piece of fabric in a weary hand. So we lost the biting tension of the early start, to engineer a comfort for the waking heart. You cannot tie a future with a painful grip. I trust the faded velvet on a steady trip. The tie is soft, the pain is gone, we are safe.
A nylon strap hanging in the driver's seat, a promised protection from the dangerous street. We pulled around the shoulder with a passing click, a functional mechanic acting fast and quick. The retract, the tension in the steady roll, but taking on an but taking on an impact breaks the hidden gear, a devastating crash inside a given year. The internal cylinder engages with the lock, a massive complication from a sudden shock. Now pulling on the nylon gives a rigid stop, a miserable failure where the functions drop. The belt is hanging slack and will not gather back, a useless piece of fabric on a broken track. Yeah. The safety net is ruined by the sudden force, a permanent conclusion on the winding course. The jammed seatbelt hanging in the empty car, a tragic limitation of a falling star. I try to pull the fabric, but the iron binds. You cannot find protection when the lock is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. Hanging in the empty car, a tragic limitation of a falling star. I try to pull the fabric, but the iron binds. You cannot find protection when the lock is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. We acted like the shelter was a given right, ignoring all the dangers in the open night. But breaking up the anchor leaves a fatal gap, a devastating error in a closing trap. The strap is just a ribbon in an empty room, a meaningless reminder of the coming doom. I press the silver button but the belt is slack, a tragedy I'm moving and not coming back. Pull the use the strap, hear the frozen click, watch the fabric hang, feel the ending sick. The anchor is a casualty of too much strain, a miserable hanging washing down the drain. I realize that driving with the broken tie is volunteering limits to a closing sky. Love requires an engine that can take the hit and roll the fabric back. We're refusing to quit. We shattered up the anchor in a raging fight and ruined all the safety in the middle of night. I dropped the metal buckle on the plastic floor, accepting that the shelter will exist no more. Of a falling star, losing all the fabric, but the iron binds. You cannot find protection when the lock is dead. I leave the broken nylon and the tears we shed.
A foam square resting in a metal tin, a dedicated surface where the marks begin. We press the rubber stamp into the heavy red to document the promises the lover said. But leaving off the cover is a careless sin, inviting all the dry atmosphere to end. The liquid evaporates into the vacant air. The sponge becomes a brittle and a rigid bone, a desolate terrain of an empty stone. I press the wooden handle with a steady mind, pretending to recover up the fading light, but pressing on the paper leaves a broken trace, a faded little shadow in a naked space. The moisture abandons all the working ground, the tragic limitation where the truth is found. The dry ink pad filling on the written sheet, a miserable record of a sad defeat. I try to make a statement, but the color dies. You cannot seal a promise with the brittle crust. I stare at the illusion in the breaking dust. The dry ink pad filling on the written sheet, a miserable record of a sad defeat. I try to make a statement, but the color dies. You cannot seal a promise with the brittle crust. I stare at the illusion in the breaking dust. We thought the deep affection was an endless pool, a magical supply for a dreaming fool. So we forgot the maintenance and walked away, and let the vital empathy begin to stray. The paper holds a fraction of the given word, a blurry little consequence of things we heard. We pushed the rubber harder, but the sponge is dead, a devastating token of the tears we bled. Push the wooden stem, watch the color fade, see the broken mark, lose the promise made. The negligence is toxic to a fragile base, a ruined piece of fabric in an empty space. I realize that relying on a dying pad is multiplying everything that makes me sad. Love requires a covering to keep it fresh, to hold the vital liquid in the open mesh. We left the feeling open to the passing wind and ruined all the symbols we had ever pinned. I dropped the faded rubber in the garbage can, accepting the finale of a ruined plan. The dry ink pad filling on the written sheet, press it down, a miserable record of a sad defeat. Leave the mark, try to make a statement, but the color dies. You cannot seal a promise with the brittle crust. I leave the faded phantom in the breaking dust. The ink is dry, the mark is gone, I am tired.
A wooden sphere mounted on a bedroom chest, a simple circle for a morning test. We bought it shining with a factory glaze, a glossy armor for the coming days. It felt a little sticky in the summer heat, a stubborn barrier we had to meet. But pulling open drawers takes a constant grip, a daily motion on a steady trip. The natural oils rub against the painted wood, erasing all the polish where the barrier stood. The timber darkens to a rich in the brown, it loses the aesthetic of a rigid mold, becoming something tender, getting brave and old. I wrap my fingers around the curving wooden dome, a physical sensation of a working home. The friction wears the vanity and leaves the grain. The polished knob glowing in the morning light, a steady little anchor making matters right. We rub the bitter edges to a velvet slide and engineered a doorway where the secrets hide. You cannot pull a burden with the slippery face. I hold the wooden center in a quiet space. The polished knob glowing in the morning light, a steady little anchor making matters right. We rub the bitter edges to a velvet slide and engineered a doorway where the secrets hide. You cannot pull a burden with a slippery face. I hold the wooden center in a quiet space. To judge the beauty by a shining coat, a superficial logic on a sinking boat. But time reveals the value of a naked spine, a flawless navigation on a true design. The knob is taking all the pressure of the hand, providing a devotion I can understand. The drawer glides open on the metal running track, a faithful little partner always giving back. Grasp the timber round, pull the heavy load, feel the smooth design, walk the daily road. The wearing is a blessing in a solid form, a cozy little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for an untouched shine is missing all the logic of your heart and mind. Love requires a rubbing of the outer shell to navigate the pulling and to do it well. We let the passing season shape the wooden core and validated everything we bargained for. I pull the final drawer to let the daylight in, accepting the devotion of the state I am in. Oh, polished knob glowing in the morning light, pull it out, steady little anchor making matters right. Hold it firm, we rub the bitter edges to a velvet slide and engineered a doorway where the secrets hide. You cannot pull a burden with a slippery face. I trust the wooden center in a quiet space. The wood is smooth, the track is clear, we are fine.
A canvas sheet wrapping round the weary waist, a thick defense in a hurried space. We tied the cotton string to keep the messes out, a physical protection from the growing doubt. It started as a clean and empty shade of white, a fragile little barrier against the night. But working in the studio invites a splash, a chaotic collection of a colored ash. The oil and acrylic soak into the weave, the heavy comp believe, the lathe, the lathe, the lathe. The layers of roller learn again a brilliant hue, a vivid illustration meant for me and you. The fabric takes the damage to defend the chest, a dedicated partner passing every test. The stained apron standing with the rigid spine, a colorful protector crossing out the line. We wore the dirty colors like a badge of pride and engineered a shelter on the outer side. You cannot block the splatters with the fragile lace. I wear the hardened canvas in a working space. The stained apron standing with the rigid spine, a colorful protector crossing space. We used to fear the dropping of a bitter ink, terrified of avoiding changing how we think, but catching all the pigment makes the fiber strong, a rugged destination where we both belong. The blue and red are mixing in a messy chart, a solid demonstration of a beating heart. The spills and the mistakes provide a thicker wall, ensuring that we never have to take the fall. Tie the cotton string, feel the heavy shield to catch the flying paint. Walk the open field, the mess is an advantage in a rugged form, a brilliant little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hiding from a dirty mark is leaving all the courage in the empty dark. Love requires a soaking of the bitter spill to fortify the barrier upon the hill. We let the passing errors build a heavy coat and navigate it safely in a steady boat. I pulled a stiffened fabric off my weary frame, accepting the protection of a loyal game. The Stained Apron, standing with the rigid spine, a colorful protector crossing out the line. Keep it safe. We wore the dirty colors like a badge of pride, and engineered a shelter on the outer side. You cannot block the splatters with the fragile lace. I trust the heart and canvas in a working space. Is dry, the chest is safe, we are strong. A metal clip hanging on the climbing rope, a rigid little anchor for a rising hope. We clicked the silver gate to hold the tether fast, a necessary logic in a roaring blast. It opened with a thumb and snapped to wrap it close, a functional mechanic that the climber knows. But hanging in the moisture takes a silent fee, a chemical destruction of the you and me. The rain invades the cylinder and finds the pin, a miserable ending waiting to begin. The iron turns a vivid and a toxic red, erasing all the safety in the words we said. I push the silver gate to try and break the hold, but nature has a temper that is brave and bold. The spring refuses, yielding to a human push, a paralyzed defender in the morning rush. The gate is fused together in a toxic bind, a devastating barrier we left behind. The rusted carabiner, locking up the line, a tragedy developing for your heart and mine. I try to squeeze the metal, but the iron sticks, a miserable puzzle that I cannot fix. You cannot clip a mountain when the spring is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. The rusted carabiner, locking up the line, a tragedy developing for your heart and mine. I try to squeeze the metal, but the iron sticks, a miserable puzzle that I cannot fix. You cannot clip a mountain when the spring is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. We acted like the tension was a given right, ignoring all the weather in the fading light. But rust is an infection stopping every gear, a devastating marker of a broken year. The rope is tied forever to a useless ring, a permanent reminder of a dying thing. We cannot add a line or take the burden off, a miserable echo in a hollow cough. Push the frozen gate, Hear the metal grind, fail to clear the lock, leave the hope behind. The safety is a prison we can never break, a terrible conclusion to a past mistake. I realize that forcing a corrupted spring is asking for the shattering of everything. Love requires an opening to make a choice, to navigate the mountain and to hear the voice. We left the iron soaking in a bitter storm and ruined all the function of the working form. I dropped the heavy tether on the rocky floor, accepting that the anchor will release no more. The rusted carabiner locking up the line, let it free. Tragedy developing for your heart and mind. Walk away, try to squeeze the metal, but the iron sticks. A miserable puzzle that I cannot fix. You cannot clip a mountain when the spring is dead. I leave the frozen metal and the tears we shed. The gate is locked, the climb is done. I am tired.
A rubber band hiding in a plastic deck, a vital little engine to prevent the wreck. We pushed the silver button down to hear this song, a sonic destination where we both belong. The motor spun the circle, and it pulled the tape, a musical delivery. But stretching out the rubber takes a vital toll, a physical exhaustion of the spinning soul. The heat inside the housing makes the fiber weak, a devastating failure that the shadows seek. The rubber loses tension in the hidden track, it snaps and falls away into the lower tray, erasing all the music we attempt to play. The motor hums in circles with an empty sound, a disconnected engine running in the ground. The wheel is turning fast, but nothing takes the drive. A tragic illustration, we cannot survive. The snapped belt lying in the empty dark, a miserable ending to a glowing spark. I try to press the play, but all the music dies. A quiet little phantom under weary eyes. You cannot hear a rhythm when the link is torn. I listen to the humming, feeling tired and worn. The snapped belt lying in the empty dark, a miserable ending to a glowing spark. I try to press the play, but all the music dies. A quiet little phantom under weary eyes. You cannot hear a rhythm when the link is torn. I listen to the humming, feeling tired and worn. We look like we are functioning to outside eyes, a shiny silver panel of a cold disguise. But deep inside the cabinet the connection fails, a devastating tearing of the sinking sails. The wheels refuse to turn and pull the ribbon through, a permanent division separating me and you. I hear the electric roaring of a useless spin, a quiet confirmation of the state I am in. Push the plastic key, hear the motor run, fail to catch the tape, know the song is done. The driving force is broken by a careless strain, a miserable hanging washing down the drain. I realize that hoping for a magic fix is playing an illusion in a bag of tricks. Love requires a tether that is thick and clear to transfer all the motion in a given year. We stretched the vital rubber till the tension snapped and left the communication permanently trapped. I hit the stop button on the metal frame, accepting all the silence of a broken game. The snapped belt lying in the end, shut it down, shut it down. Miserable ending to a glowing spark. I try to press the play, but all the music dies. A quiet little phantom under weary eyes. You cannot hear a rhythm when the link is torn. I leave the empty humming, feeling tired and worn. tape is still